Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and I just wanted to give you 5 really quick tips to try to gain elo quick at the end of the season. So that's what this video is going to be all about, just to help you down the stretch, hopefully reach your goals by the end of the season. So if you like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. We stream every night starting around midnight Eastern Standard Time, usually go till about 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'd love to have you. Very friendly, chill community. It's only on YouTube. Stop by, ask any questions that you want, check out some gameplay. It's a good time. And then we do lots of guides like this all the time. I'm doing fresh patch notes and tier lists every patch. And then we also have tons and tons of videos about the preseason changes. I have like hour-long videos on each role and those different items and how that might affect the meta. And I'm going to continue to do a lot of that. Then we have lots of topical guides like best one trick, how to macro better, how to micro better, roaming, dodging, how to deal with toxicity. Just almost anything you can think of. We have tons and tons of guides. So I'm just condensing some of the greatest hits here to help you sort of get some elo fairly quickly in this guide. So let's go ahead and get in here. Now, I will preface this by saying that getting better at League overall does take time. It does take practice and consistency. So don't use this thinking that if you do these things, you're just instantly going to go from like bronze to challenger. But I know that with 2 weeks, left pretty much before the season ends, that you might need that 1 or 2 divisions right now. So these are just very almost oversimplified things that you can do just to try to eke out that extra 100 or 200 LP before the end. So it's good to cultivate these things, but I think these are the 5 things, for the long term. But I think the way that I'm going to talk about these 5 things are just really easy things that you can use just to help your game out immediately and try to bump up. So there's no easy tricks. It's always going to be challenging, but if there are easy tricks, this is about as close as it would get. Okay, so I'm going to talk about champ select, information management, wave management, leveraging tempo, and playing around strength, and just really like straightforward, simple ways that you can do these things. So there are lots of complex ways you can do these things as well, but once again, this is kind of an almost oversimplified version of it. Okay, so be sure to scout your allies. This is the easiest thing and to not do, and I'm guilty of doing this as well, like especially when I duo, is to not use Porofessor as much as you can. And you can use something other than Porofessor if you want. You can use like op.gg, but I like Porofessor. I'm just going to break it out here real quick. Just because it gives you a lot of information, so you can switch over and say rank stats only if you want. And a lot of times this shows you the last 30 days, which I think is really important because sometimes if you look at op.gg, it'll tell you their ratings for the entire season, but maybe they haven't played in 4 months and they're just coming back, or maybe they have a really high win rate on a certain champion, but they haven't played them recently. And you will see that with a lot of players this time of the year. People that have had breaks for a couple of months and they're just coming back and they might be rusty. So I think this just gives you an accurate assessment of what's going on. And then it has these little tabs here that can help you out, kind of just understand a little bit about the data that you're seeing, understand a little bit about this player. So sometimes you might see things like good mood, which means that they win a lot when they're on a streak. So maybe playing around that player could increase your chances to win. A more common one to see is bad mood, and that means that the player loses a lot of games if they have just recently lost. So it might say they're on a 3-game loss streak and it's bad mood, and it'll say something like they lose 10% of the games, or they lose 10% more games when they're in a bad mood. So that means that you might want to consider dodging if that person is really tilted, or if you see bad mood on the enemy team, because you can see the enemy after you've already loaded in, or while the game's loading up, you can look at the enemy. And if it says bad mood there and you're like a jungler, or you have a chance to roam on that person, maybe try to trigger them, right? Maybe go after them, get a couple of ganks on them. Maybe they AFK or they start tilting. I'm not really one to talk about like dirty tricks and stuff like that, but if you need some fast elo, that's a good way to do it. Or if sometimes it'll say vulnerable laner, so that could mean that they die to ganks a lot. And so once again, if you're the jungler and it says vulnerable laner, that probably means they don't ward very much, or they overextend, or whatever. So it just gives you a lot of good information to figure that out, right? So some of them aren't as useful, like aggressive laner, means that they're probably coming at you. They're probably good. So I would be kind of scared of this Fizz if I was on the enemy teams. They have a lot of really good, tags, and it says roaming. So you got to, keep an eye on him. He's probably going to roam in your game. So it gives you lots of good information. And the main thing that you're looking for here is just, does this seem like a reasonable game that I can win, right? and just understanding that you can hit that dodge button, right? You don't have to play the game, especially if it is a 3-point dodge. Your first dodge of the day is 3 points, and then I believe it's within 16 hours. Every dodge after that, until you've gone 16 hours without a dodge, is 10 points and a 30-minute lockout. But the first one is just 3 points and a 6-minute lockout. So you should be using your 6-minute lockout, I would say daily. It's almost like a free get out of jail card, right? So just think about it kind of like poker, right? And that's a lot of times what, matchmaking is to some extent. It's not quite that random. You are matched with other people, but sometimes you're just going to get dealt bad hands. And dodging is how you deal with it. Just like if you're a serious poker player, you're not going to play every hand, right? There are some hands that are just not a good idea to play statistically, and it's the same thing in League, right? If you have 3 people who are auto-filled or 3 people that are not on their main role, they're probably not going to do that well. Or if someone's first timing a champion, right? If they have no games played, like this Kane has no games played on Kane, and he's auto-filled, doesn't usually play jungle, you might want to consider that a dodge. So just think, or if your team is playing like really off-meta stuff that just doesn't match up very well, like if you're going to lose every single lane, that might be a consideration. So think about the comps. The lower your elo is, the less overall comps matter, and the more just like experience on the champion or comfort on the champion matters. But comps, they always matter to some extent, right? So it's up to you how you want to decide. I do have an entire video on dodging, so be sure to check that out. I'll see maybe if I can link that in the description. Oh, sorry, we got the slideshow. Hopefully that hasn't been going on for too long here. Sometimes my camera just randomly does that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, just check all that out. And I would say, I like to just roughly think of a 3 strikes and you're out rule. So if 3 of your allies do not look like they're going to be in a good situation to win the game, whether they're auto-filled, first timing a champion, or just really terrible matchup on an off-meta champ or something like that, then you might heavily consider dodging. But that's up to you, and of course there's going to be some subjectivity in there on what you think is strong. For example, I do not like seeing Teemo in my games. This guy was master last season. He has 1,100 games on Teemo this season, or 1,100 games period this season, 4 on Teemo. So yeah, it is a preferable matchup, and this Renekton's like not that great. You would not be able to see the Renekton in your lobby, but I would be like, this comp could work if I was looking at this, but I wouldn't feel great about it. The fact that the Kane is auto-filled, we've only got 4 games on Teemo, 4 games on Caitlyn. Yeah, they do have high win percentages, but especially the Teemo is just really vulnerable late game. So I don't know. This would be tough. This would be tough. But anyways, it's just something to consider, right? That you can dodge. You should scout your allies, and you're not scouting them to flame. You're not saying, "Hey, idiot, why are you playing this for the first time in lobby?" You don't need to do that. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying, just make a good calculated decision on whether you think you're going to win that game or not. And if there are 3 situations that look bad on your team, sometimes even 2 situations that look really bad, you might want to consider dodging. Okay. As far as like you playing champions, play experienced champs if you can. Don't try to first time champs if you're serious about winning down the stretch. Even if something is meta, you're like, wow, Graves is really good right now. I've been dominated by Graves in 5 different games in a row. I want to play that champ. Try not to do that, right, in the last, little bit. Like, that's good long term if you're trying to build out a one trick or just expand your champion roster. That can be good, but you're going to lose games while you try to learn most champions, and so you don't want to be doing that down the stretch if you're looking for those short-term gains. So try to play experience. If you can play stuff that's meta, stuff that's really strong, that's good. I mean, if it comes down to you have 1,000 games on Teemo and you don't have any games on Darius, or you don't have any games on Shin, then obviously just go ahead and go with the Teemo. But if it's like 50-50, if you've got 20 games on Shin and 20 games on Teemo, and it's about a 50% win rate on each, try to go with the Shin, or try to go with the Darius, or something else that's a bit stronger. If you want to know what's strong right now, I just did an all-roll tier list, so go check that out. So don't play meta if you don't have experience on it, or if you just don't like playing it, or you're just not good on it. That's okay. You can do something else. But if all else is relatively equal and you're looking to play stuff that's strong, just play stronger champions. It'll probably help you out. Okay. And then try to only play quality games. So I talked about the dodge those types of things. But think of yourself as well, right? Don't play if you're tilted. If you just got blown out last game and you're still cussing at your monitor, like, go relax, go watch a funny show, go for a walk, go do some homework, just go do something else. If you find yourself, you're already negative when you get into the lobby, if you already think that everybody sucks and there's no way you can win this game and the system's rigged against you and all this kind of stuff, don't play the game. If your goal is to win. So don't rage queue. Don't play if you're tilted. Now, tilted doesn't even mean necessarily that you're cussing or really angry, but if you're just like distracted, right? If you're thinking a lot more about your teammates and why they're terrible than you are about, things that you can do to win the game, then that's going to be tilted. And it happens the best of it. I get tilted too sometimes. I think everybody does, if you're being honest, right? So that's fine. It's only natural to get frustrated, especially if you've lost several games in a row. But just try not to queue, try not to play if you can. Now, my situation's a bit different. When you're a streamer or a content creator, you kind of have to just play through it, right? You have to play games. But when you're just out there, just playing by yourself, just hanging out, like, you can take breaks. You can take a 15-minute break, 20-minute break, go do something else. But just make sure that you're always coming in with at least a neutral mentality, right? And have your game face on, and, take it seriously when you come in. Now, I would say that always mute everybody. I used to be a proponent of keeping chat on mostly so you could just talk people off the cliff, right? So if someone was freaking out or tilting in the chat, you could say, hey, man, chill, we'll come help you in a second, or we got this, let's stay with it. You can do that. I mean, you can be the cheerleader if you want, and that probably does help a little bit. But it can also just be very distracting. I know. I consider myself a pretty cerebral player. I try not to get tilted as much as I can, but just the overwhelming amount of dumb stuff that people say in chat, even if it's not flaming, just the constant crying and complaining about, why it wasn't their fault that they went 0-10 in lane and all this stuff. It's just really distracting, and it just makes me want to like roll my eyes a lot of times, even if I'm not actually saying something to them. So it affects my mental a little bit, even if I'm not, once again, like super mad about it. It just I don't know, makes me feel cynical or negative or something like that. So I would just mute everybody. And the thing is, you almost never need to communicate anything with like actual words, right? That you can't communicate with pings, right? If you ping on my way or hey, come assist me, and they don't do it, like, they know what you mean. They're just choosing not to do it most of the time. Like, sometimes pinging something like get grievous wounds or let's split push or they're all AD, build armor. Like, sometimes stuff like that can be good if you want to turn it on temporarily. But in general, I would just leave it off. And if someone pings you several times, especially for really petty stuff, like you miss a hook and your ADC pings you twice, just mute them. Just mute them. If their pings are going to annoy you, if they're doing like passive-aggressive pings rather than informational pings a lot, just mute the pings on the person. Just, who cares? Just get rid of it immediately. I'm pretty sure they can still hear your pings even if you mute their pings, unless they mute also. And then, like, full focus as well. And I think this is really important. I'm guilty of not doing this, especially when I'm streaming and things like that, of just trying to talk to the stream, trying to talk about random stories and things like that. So just make sure that you're playing a high-quality game. League takes a lot of brain power to play correctly. If you're trying to notice everything that's going on the map, if you're trying to process all that information and make the best decisions you can, you want your full focus in there. Right? So try not to be texting or watching Netflix on a second monitor. Or, some people do well with music. Some people don't do well with music. Try not to be drinking too much or smoking too much or whatever else that might, alter your mentality while you're playing. Try not to come play if you're stressed from a lot of outside stuff, right? If you just had a really tough shift off of work and you're just really mad or annoyed about it and you're trying to come home and unwind and relax, but you're wound up, League is not a good game to do that with. League is not a relaxing game most of the time. So... just make sure that you're good. And, whenever possible, make sure you've had a decent amount of sleep and get you something to eat. Get some water or some Gatorade or something or, a sports drink, whatever. Stay hydrated. Try to keep your nutrition good. Because that helps you, and I'm guilty of not doing this a lot of the time, right? I'll come in tired. I'll come in not having eaten anything. But, your mind is a physical contraption, right? It has to have stuff. It has to have energy. Sleep affects how well your mind performs. Stress affects how well your mind performs. So just as much as you can. I know this is 2020. There's no such thing as no stress. But, try to, as much as possible, just play games where you are full focused, lasered in, and you're giving it, 100% your best effort. If you feel like you can't do that, then just wait until you think you can and then play. So it could, like I said, that could be related to tilt, but it could just be related to other things. Just stressed out about a relationship, stressed out about school, job, something like that. All of these can affect you. So it's okay to play less games. I think that there's this mentality of, well, you got to grind. The only way to climb is to play a billion games. That's not true, especially in the short term. If you're just trying to get, that last 100 LP or 200 LP, less games, higher quality. It's much better to play like 2 games a day in which you are giving it 100% your best effort, and you're going to win, 70% of those games. I haven't done this math ahead of time, so I may be walking myself into a trap here. But playing 2 70% games is going to be better than playing 4 50% games, right, in the long run. So, make sure that you're getting those high-quality games. So you could play 10 games a day, but if you're only coin flipping those games, if you're only going 50-50, it's not worth it. Right? Versus if you could go 2 70 games or even playing 5 60% games, then it's more likely that you're going to have a good outcome. Now, playing more games is tougher because it's hard. Like, it taxes your concentration, and especially those long games that were really complicated, you can come out feeling kind of, in a haze. Right? So I would say the more games you play in general, and I mean, you see this as well in win rates, right? It's very rare that someone who has a really high win rate has a lot of games, right? You're not going to see someone with 1,000 games usually that has like a 70% win rate. Maybe, but it's because the more you play, the less likely your percentage is going to be. First of all, the law of averages is going to catch up to you. You're not going to be able to go on a big run. But then second of all, you're just going to get mentally fatigued if you play that many games in a day. So if you're really serious about getting the highest win percentage possible and climbing the shortest amount of time, just make sure that you're playing high quality games, and that probably means that you're playing less. So sometimes less is more. Okay, let's go through this other stuff a little bit faster. All right, so information management, you need to try to shot call everything that you can. And I know that, people always come out and they'll say, but nobody listens to me in my ELO or all the, blah, blah, blah. It's like, the thing is, if you don't shot call, it's 0%. 0% are going to listen to you if you say nothing, and they're going to continue to make their bad decisions, right, on your team. However, if you shot call, there will be some non-zero number of people that will pay attention to you, even if it's just, like one teammate once per game pays attention. I mean, just think about if you just call that the jungler is going to be at top scuttle at 3 minutes, if your top is overextended, if he just says, oh, okay, I should back up a little bit, you could have saved that entire lane, right? Because if he gets ganked on and then they kill him and then he blows his flash and then they come and gank him again and they kill him again, that could be it for top lane, right? So that could destroy the entire top lane just because they weren't thinking about where the jungler was. Where if you tell them that and all it takes is a couple of pings, there's nothing else you have to do. If you just share that information, hey, the jungler is probably going to be at top scuttle around 3 minutes, be careful. You can win that entire lane. Okay, so yeah, maybe he doesn't listen to you, but if you do those types of things a lot, right? If you see the jungler on a ward and he's ganking mid and mid's in the middle of a fight and they didn't see it and they back up, could be the same with mid lane. Maybe you just saved them. If you ping Baron and your team gets a Baron, you could win off of that. So there are so many different things that can win. So just do the shotgun approach, right? Just call everything, and maybe they don't listen to everything. Maybe they only listen to 20% of what you're saying. That's still going to improve your win rate, right? So don't let it discourage you that there will be some teammates that don't listen to you, that continue to do stupid stuff, because there will be many that do. It's just, in general, our memory tends to fixate on negativity a lot of times, right? So we remember and we focus on the people that didn't listen, that kept doing stupid stuff, that went 0-10, right? All of that stuff. And we don't really remember or think about, oh, my team actually followed this and got the dragon, or oh, my team got the Baron here, or oh, this person backed up and didn't die. We're just like, okay, that's what they should do, and we just go about our day, right? But we don't think, oh, if I never pinged that or did that, maybe that would not have happened, right? So don't focus too much on the negativity. Just understand that you're increasing your win rate. Logically, you have to, because it's going from 0 to something that's not 0 if you shot call. So the degree to which it influences, you could debate that, but I think it's impossible to debate that it's going to help your win percentage overall. So ping everything and ping for your allies. So think about timers, CDs, items, ganks, rotations. And once again, you don't have to cover all of this, but anything you can do to help out with this is going to help. So even if you only ping, the only thing you can keep up with is like pinging dragon timers and flash timers and stuff like that, that's fine. If you forget to ping some items, or like you don't ping a gank or an MIA or something like that, like, that's okay. It'd be better if you did ping it. But still, pinging something is better than pinging nothing. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, well, I just can't remember everything, so therefore I shouldn't ping anything. It's like or maybe you don't have the confidence in your shot calling. You're thinking, I'm not really sure like what we should be doing here, so I'm not going to ping anything. It's like, well, just getting everyone to do something. Sometimes even if that something is not the best thing you could possibly do. So maybe you ping your whole team to go get a tower and an inhibitor after you get an ace, and the absolute best play was maybe to go back and get the Baron instead in that situation. It's still good to do something, right? Just to get him to get the tower and the inhibitor, than just like backing or wandering around and taking jungle camps or something like that, right? So just do the best you can. You'll learn. The only way you get better at it is by learning and focusing. And so, just shot call everything that you possibly can. And some people say, well, no one listens to the support. A lot of times people don't even know who pinged, right? Unless you are making really egregious, absolutely terrible calls, people are just going to listen to anything they hear most of the time. They're not going to think who pinged dragon. They're just going to think, oh, someone pinged dragon. Yeah, that looks like a good idea. Let's go do it, right? So if you've called 2 bad barons where the enemy team intercepts and kills you twice and gets the baron in a game, yes, you've lost a lot of credibility, and that's bad. Oh, Buzz. Rory's a bee. Come here. You want to show the people your bee outfit? Oh, wow.
Buzz.
Are you buzzing?
Buzz.
Buzz? Oh, that's a nice
Hello,
bee.
people.
Can you wave at them? Say hi, people.
Hi, people.
Nice.
People.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Look at that bee outfit. Oh, she's looking like a bee today, aren't you, Rory?
Bee.
Good
Don't
job.
worry, Dad. It's just bee. Worry, bee.
Oh, okay, good. I thought that was a bee.
How people?
Okay, so don't worry, it's just me.
Can you see my bee costume?
They can see it. They like it. We got a little intermission here with her new Halloween outfit, which is cool. Rory's ready.
From last year, still fits.
It is from last year. It does still fit her, and she likes the bee outfit. Don't you, Rory? She said, don't worry, Dad. It's just me, Rory. She wanted to let me know. It wasn't a bee. It's just Buzz. That's right.
Buzz.
She's even got some wings on the back here.
Buzz.
Oh, she's buzzing. Okay, Daddy's going to come down in just a second, okay? And then we
Buzz.
can... Oh, you're saying bye?
Downstairs.
Oh, she's going to fly downstairs and buzz around downstairs.
Yeah.
Daddy will come down in just a second.
We wanted Daddy.
Good job, Rory. Okay, so hopefully y'all don't mind the intermission there, but that is a cute outfit. And she just got home from daycare and wanted to show it to me. But yeah, so just ping as much as you can. So don't feel too overwhelmed. Don't feel bad if you can't get everything. Something's better than nothing. So just do what you can. Ping everything that you can. I promise you, people will listen to you. Some non-zero number of people will listen. And you'll get better at it the more that you get used to calling it. So just upcoming dragons and barons, just let people know. It's better to ping something that people will probably already know to give them too much information. So try not to do annoying pings. That's another thing that you don't want to do. So don't keep pinging assistants to get people to come down and gank you. Don't spam like 8 assist pings bottom over and over again at your jungle. Don't ping people's portrait. Don't do passive aggressive pings, basically, right? Don't ping question mark if someone misses a hook. Don't spam ping assist. Don't ping their portraits if they're feeding. Y'all know what I'm saying. Don't do aggressive, passive aggressive pings, but do informational pings and people will listen. Okay, so ping upcoming dragons and barons, flash, teleport, ignite, ultimate cooldowns, especially if your ult's going to be up in 10 seconds or something and your bot lane's looking to fight, just ping your ult and just say, hey, wait, let's just wait on this, right? If ignite's coming up in 20 seconds, just wait on your ignite before you do that engage. So just look at the cooldowns and communicate that with the team, right? You can ping their ultimate if you're expecting them to use it, Right now, once again, don't do the passive aggressive ping, hopefully, but just you know, if their cooldown is coming up, right, it has a little clock on it. If you just ping it and you know it says 15 seconds, it'll also tell you how long their cooldown is. If you ping on their portrait where they have the little clock where that button is, if you just, you know, I think it's alt ping, it might be control ping. But if you just ping it, it'll tell you the cooldown. So it'll tell you 20 seconds are left on Ashe's ult, for example, before it's going to come up. So you can ping that to get that timer, but it also lets them know that you are waiting on that Ashe ult before you go in. Okay. So let that know. If your top laner is pushing out, but they don't have TP and your team's about to fight, you know, spam ping back. Say, hey, he doesn't have TP for 30 seconds. Let's wait on his TP. Ping his TP timer. So you need to be pinging all the timers. If your jungler doesn't have smite, but you're trying to go do dragon and the enemy jungler's up, ping that for your team. Say, no, back off the dragon. Back off the dragon. We don't have smite. Ping smite a bunch. Okay, so you need to try to not only, like, step one is watch your cooldowns and communicate that with the team, but step two is watch your teammates' cooldowns and communicate that information as well. You can ping big items, right? So if your Vayne just completed Blade the Ruined King and the enemy Caitlyn only has BF Sword and Pickaxe, so she doesn't have Infinity Edge yet, that's a really good time to try to fight. If your Akali just finished Gunblade and she's against an Ahri who hasn't finished Ludens yet, that could be a good time to fight. So just look at specific item power spikes and just ping that. Just let them know. If you come back to lane and you have a BF sword and they have a Tear of the Goddess, ping it and just let them know, hey, I want to fight. If they have some kind of weird item that people wouldn't expect, right? Especially stopwatch. If they just bought a stopwatch, you need to look at that and ping that, right? Or if they have perfect timing the rune and they just got their stopwatch, you need to ping that. Let people know, hey, they have stopwatch. Don't try to dive them. Don't overcommit. Understand they're going to use stopwatch. So especially stopwatch or Zanya's or whatever, you can ping that. But also if they have some kind of like strange resistance item or that's going to make them harder to kill, or they are a defensive champion that's building like some kind of really aggressive item, you need to ping that. So if like Sona rushed Lich Bane or something like that, ping that. Item cooldowns, right? So if your redemption's not up for 20 seconds, you know, maybe ping your team and say, hey, let's wait on this redemption for a second. Just to let people know. Or if you have a Mikhail's and they have a Quicksilver Sash, just ping your Mikhail's cooldown and just let them know, hey, my Mikhail's is not up for 1 minute, so you're going to have to use your Quicksilver Sash, or that type of thing. Okay, call the MIAs, you know, so if someone's missing out of your lane, just spam ping, you know, question mark your lane, like, question mark where the person could be, so like question mark here, here, and here if you think like the Alistar might be roaming middle, and then ping the portrait of the Alistar like 3 or 4 times so people know what you're talking about. So don't just question mark your lane, but like ping the pathing where you think the person may have gone, and then ping the portrait so they know what you're talking about. And then try to, if you're playing an engaged champion, and you can't always do this, you won't have time, but try your best to pre-ping it. So if you're looking for an engage as Nautilus or as Bard, you're going to be fishing for an ult, just ping it and let people know, right? So just ping like engage, 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 and then just, you know, maybe control ping your ult just so they know that it's ready, that you're about to do it, and then hopefully they'll have more time to look for it. So if the situation's really hot, right, like if you just see an opportunity that arises and you don't have time, you just have to go for it, then you know, you can do that. So if like Ezreal just ease forward randomly when your team's just standing around, then just go on him immediately, you know. But if you do have time, if you're like, hey, I'm about to go, let the team know that you're going to go. And then that way they should be on alert. So will people still fall asleep and not follow you up? Yeah. I mean, there was an opportunity last night, which I got tilted off of. I'll be honest about it. I got tilted off of it where we were like, everybody was around here. Let me pull. I guess I don't need to grab every single person, but just both teams are kind of A-ramming around here. And a bunch of them were in the base. I think it was their support and their jungler were down here, and we had wards, I think, like in this area. So we knew they were there. We may have had a ward there too. So like, just moving everything over here. So we had the whole crew was over here. They were pushed into their base. Everyone's just kind of A-ramming. It's like 50 minutes into a game. Then we see their jungler and their support down here, and I'm playing Bard. Everybody's here, like right around me. I ping this like 2 or 3 times, and then I Bard tunnel right through here, and I was like pretty tanky for what they had. So I Bard tunnel down here, came down here. I was just spam pinging this, and just like nobody followed. Like several of them were literally like around here, but just nobody followed through. It was 10 seconds. Like I was able to survive and hold them both here for 10 seconds as Bard. Like I went in, stunned them against a wall, like redemption myself, ulted, hit all of us again. I think stunned them again, and I was like holding it for 10 seconds, and like nobody followed up, and I just like lost my mind. Because we knew it was just those two. The rest of them were isolated, and it was 50 minutes in, and we would have won. Anyways, I don't want to dwell on it too much. So I totally get it. My main point is I get it that it can be frustrating when people don't listen to you. And, sometimes it's easy to want to throw your arms up in the air and say, well, there's no point in pinging these idiots. Like, nobody's going to do anything. But they will most of the time. It's just sometimes they won't. Sometimes they will still make mistakes. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you'll ping something that looks like a good idea or a good call, and then it's not a good call. So, it happens. But you just want to communicate as much as you can. Okay, another thing that I wanted to mention here is vision is very important as well. And sometimes people ask me, well, where should I put wards? How should I put my vision in here? The main thing is you need to try to ward camps. And this is what I see a lot. And sometimes it's not possible. Vision is predicated on what, there's a few different factors that go into it. Part of it is how far, can you get the vision safely as a support? Because vision just doesn't magically appear, right? You have to earn it, right? You have to have the map position to go get it, or you're going to die. Right, so for example, the ideal places, I'll say this early on. So if you're on blue side and your bot side is support, I think a lot of people watch the channel are support. That's why I'm mentioning that. The absolute 100% ideal situation is if you can ward there, ward here, and then probably ward here would be the best situation. So you want these deep wards in the enemy jungle because they have to go farm their camps, right? So they're gonna, and then you get lots of notice. You're like, okay, he's here farming. Okay, he's here farming, and then right? Versus if you just put wards like a more standard kind of warding that somebody might do would be something like this. Maybe now you don't know where they are, right? If they're ganking you probably, and if you're in a defensive position, you can still hide, but it's not going to help out because if you have those deeper wards. It's not going to help out as much, I should say. Because if you have those deeper wards, for example, let's say that your top laner's up here, and it's a really volatile matchup. Maybe it's like Darius versus Renekton. This, Darius on your team may not be sure if he can go for Renekton because he doesn't know if the jungler's there. Or maybe your jungler is right here clearing some camps, and they're like, well, I could gank top, but I don't know if the enemy jungler is going to be there also. They're not going to have the right information, right? But if you have your wards up here on those camps, and you see the enemy jungler is doing wolves, and there's no dragon on the bot side, well, now they know it's open season, right? Because they know they can very confidently either 1v1 or the jungler can come up here and safely counter gank. Or it maybe if Rift scuttles up, then your jungler sees them over there, then they say, oh, I can go get Rift Scuttle for free because I know the enemy jungle's on the bottom side, right? And then maybe not to engage. Maybe they're down here doing Gromp, and you were just thinking about maybe they're right here and you are Ash Leona and you're thinking about engaging on bot lane, but you see the jungle is farming the Gromp right here and it's a Fiddlesticks or something, and he's going to be in position to jump over this wall or use this blast plant, a Vi could use this blast plant and come over. Hey, I probably should not try to engage here because the enemy jungle is on that side of the map. So just deeper vision is better. However, you can't always get that kind of vision, right? And part of this is going to get into what I talk about here in a second with wave management, is that if you allow yourself to freeze or to be frozen, so let's pull the ADC and support down here, because you'll hear a lot of challenger level players say, oh, you got to freeze the lane, only idiots push the lane. It's well, maybe for top lane. It depends. There are some times when you want to freeze, But this is how it impacts vision. If the wave is like right here, you can't go get this vision, right? Like, let's say that your mid lane is also taking that challenger advice and freezing the wave right here, right? Well, now you don't have priority in either one of the lanes. So that means that if you were to try to add a position, go ward this, let's say you try to come up here and do this, then if they see you do that, so if they have a ward, let's say they have a ward right here, if they see you do that, then they can just collapse and kill you, right? Come down here, kill you, and then get the dragon. So you can't, it's really, really difficult to extend further than your waves in order to get vision, because then you're behind enemy lines and they're going to get to you faster than your allies can get to you. So in this kind of situation where you're in this defensive position, maybe the best vision you can get is just to put a ward over this wall and just try to ward dragon. And just see if you can like maybe keep a control ward here. So is this vision a lot worse? Hell yeah, it's a lot worse. It's bad. So you do not want that vision, but that might be just the best thing you can get because, you know, the enemy has full control. Or if they're really far ahead of you, you know, maybe ideal vision around Baron late game if you're on blue side is like here, you know, here and maybe like over here, right? And then you have like a pink to shut it out. This is like a really aggressive position that you could take, but maybe you can't get that because you're really far behind. Maybe they have, you know, these waves are pushed up. Can I grab the waves? There we go. Maybe these waves are pushed up, right? And then let's just say top lane's pushed up as well. Maybe you can't get that vision because once again, if you go behind enemy lines and you try to get that vision, you know, their mid laner could be there, their jungler could be over here and intercept you. You just can't get that kind of vision. So maybe the best you can do is, you know, you can maybe get that one. And then if they're actively coming in and sweeping this and using control wards and trying to lock you out of vision, you might have to get something like this, right? You might have to get a little creative and come over here and just ward over this wall just so you can see if they're at least like trying to start the dragon. Because this will evade most control wards. So if they have like a control ward sitting on dragon there, and then they have another control ward here, and they have a control ward here, and they're just locking you out of vision, you might be able to sneak in a ward there, right? Or you might be able to sneak in a ward like over here or something. So sometimes you have to get a little creative with your warding depending on the situation. So just take what they can give you, but ideally you want to, you know, put your wards in the place where they are most likely to go so you can see them as much as you possibly can. That's what you want, because once you see them, that opens up a lot of opportunities. You know where you can engage. Your top laner knows. Your jungler knows, you know, which objectives they should be focusing on. You know, if you see this down here, maybe you're about to, maybe you have this, and then you just took a back or something and they're pushing you in. You've got some of this deep vision over here. They've got a slow push rolling in your way. And then let's say that you're over here, you're just about to come back to lane, and you see this jungler up here is like coming down off of that vision. If you have your jungler is like in this area, maybe they're doing raptors, and they see that, they see this coming down, then they're gonna know, okay, there's probably a dive coming in. So then, you know, they might be able to come down here, and when this jungler tries to dive you, or whatever, under tower, they try to come at you, maybe your jungler had, you know, a 20-second heads up, so they're able to get into position and come down and flank and get a really good move. Or maybe your mid laner is just like, oh crap, they're going in for a dive. I can push this in really quickly, and then I can roam down to help, because now you're giving your mid laner a 20-second heads up. So you can ping, like, help, 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 assist, and then ping the enemy jungler. You could, like, ping them right there to just let them know a dive's coming in, and then maybe they can do it. Right? Deep wards also give you good teleports. So maybe a fight breaks out around dragon. You know, something like this. You've got your crew over here. They're all positioning, you know, for a fight. And let's say that you have a ward right there. The enemy doesn't have a lot of quality wards. Let's say the enemy only has a ward like maybe right here, right in front of everybody. And you've got this ward back here. Then maybe your top laner can teleport over here. This Darius or Renekton or something can teleport over here, and then he can get this really good flank to disrupt their backline. So deep wards give you great vision of the jungle, give a really good heads up, for the rest of your team to make positions, give you really good teleport targets. So it's just really, really good. So try to get the deepest wards that you can. Try to get vision on their camps. But if you have to go defensively, then think carefully where are they likely to sweep, where are they going to put control wards, and where can you sneak some wards in just so you get some kind of vision. So try to get that deep vision. Don't just settle for weak vision, especially if you're in a dominant position. Use red wards aggressively. Shut out enemy vision. I see so many times somebody will just sit here and they'll just have the same control ward in the same bush all game. Especially if you're the support. Carry around like 2 control wards almost at all times. Like early game, maybe, or if there's a specific item spike completion, maybe you're not able to get a control ward on that back, but that should be very rare. You should always have 1 and usually 2 control wards in your inventory if you can afford it. Because if you clear a ward, it already pays for half of it, right? You're going to get 30 gold back out of your 75. Not exactly half, but close. Right, and then you're denying them that vision. So you're denying them, the 75 gold or whatever worth of value by shutting out their vision, and you get to keep the vision. So don't be afraid to do that, right? Like if you see that they just warded this and you don't have your sweeper, drop a pink ward and clear it, right? It's okay to do that. So you can drop a pink ward to clear that, and then you still have another pink ward you can put over here to clear this one. So use it like a little temporary sweeper if you need to do that. A popular place where people ward sometimes too would be like over this wall if they're, trying to set up for a dragon on blue side and your red side, drop a control ward there, clear that out. So just be aggressive with those red wards, and shut out the enemy vision whenever you can. And use your vision to protect key assets. So sometimes that's not your lane that you're trying to protect. Right, so if you are a support, especially if you're in a losing position and all you can get is garbage vision anyways because they keep locking you out. So if you're on, let's say your red side over here, right, you have support, AD carry, just get rid of all that stuff. Support, AD carry, and you're getting pushed in, your AD carry is getting dumpstered. They picked Vayne into Misfortune Zyra. Or something like that, and you're not having a great time. What you can do then, but let's say your mid laner's doing pretty well, right? So let's say they're maybe playing Fizz, they've got a couple of kills, and they keep pressuring this other person. What you can do then is after you're back on your way back to the lane, you can come down here and donate your vision to the Fizz. Right, so maybe instead of settling, if you were right here, maybe you could get a ward right here. They're going to sweep it or control ward it. Or maybe you could get this really shallow little ward in this bush, which is going to suck. Maybe you can put like a little defensive ward here or here to stop them from diving you. So these are okay options, but maybe you'd be better suited by donating your pink ward, like using your sweeper in here to clear for the Fizz, donating your pink ward to them, over here. And then they can put their pink ward in this bush and have a lot more control. And then maybe you can put, instead of going for the shallow vision, maybe you can come over here and just like ward up these raptors for them or something like that, right? Or maybe you can get in here and like ward this. So it just kind of depends on your support. If you're playing something like Rakan, who can get away really easily if you get discovered by the enemy jungle, or if you walk over a ward or something like that, you can get deeper vision. If you're playing something like Soraka with almost no escapes, that can be a bit rougher. But that's just something to think about. So you don't always have to ward for your lane. You can go ward for other people. Maybe if your top laner is really dominant in the mid game, maybe you can go ward for them. So maybe that's one of your major objectives is you have like a 6-0 Fiora and you just want her to be able to split push and not get caught, right? Maybe you can donate wards over here to her. So come over, maybe drop a control ward there for, maybe just ward the river, ward here, things like that. So just whatever side she's pushing on, maybe give her that vision to help her out. Okay. So yeah, use that vision, use that information management, and that can be good. So the last little bit here, I definitely want to keep it under an hour. Wave management. So default to a push and roam style. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is contrary to what you'll hear a lot of kind of the challenger guides saying. Like freezing sounds cool. It's like, ooh, I can, that's counterintuitive. I'm doing something different. Most people don't understand. I can, zone them off of minions. Like what happens a lot of times, what people think about it as a freeze is they'll just think about a defensive freeze. So they'll think, okay, I just want to farm here. And so my goal is to freeze so that I don't get ganked, and I'm just going to farm up for late because I'm playing Kaisa, Tear of the Goddess Kaisa, and I just want to get to 3 items or whatever. But the problem is, we mentioned before, with this approach is that you're giving up all of your priority, right? So if you're just taking this freeze option here, now sometimes you might have to freeze, right? If you have a terrible matchup, but you decide to play the game anyways, right? If you are Ezreal Janna or something like that into Draven Leona, you might have to take a defensive positioning like this. But I see a lot of people defaulting into this position, even if they have a neutral lane, so something where it could go either way, or sometimes even if they have a winning lane, right? You'll see somebody who's like Jhin into Ezreal, and they will try to freeze outside of this instead of pressuring the Ezreal. But the problem is, like, it just opens up a lot of issues, right? It allows their support to roam. So if they have that Leona now, and first of all, it all starts with vision. A lot of times, you're not going to have vision here probably. If they just put a control ward in this bush, it's going to be very difficult for you to hold vision. You can maybe get a ward here, but they're probably going to sweep it. They're going to get your jungle warded up, right? So what I was just talking about, maybe they're going to have at least this warded. And that's going to make it very difficult for a jungler to come down and gank for you. It's going to cause all those other problems, right? The enemy's going to know where your jungler is. Their top lane's going to get the green light to go aggressive, or the enemy jungler is going to get the green light to go get Rift Herald or counter jungle your jungler, or, whatever, whenever they see where your jungler is. So you're going to give up vision. That's going to be the start of the problem. It's going to open up all those issues we just discussed. This support now can roam over and try to make plays in the mid lane, so you're not going to have any clue where he is most of the time. So he's going to have all the priority to make these plays. They're going to be able to potentially get Dragon on you. So if mid lane gets priority and they just pressure down to get Dragon, and it's going to be really difficult for you to come in and stop that because you have this huge minion wave here. So a lot of problems open up whenever you try to freeze lane and you concede the map. You don't have pressure. They're going to have preferable back timings. So, and I'll talk about all of this in reverse when I do the tempo section, but they're going to have preferable back timing, so they can go back, get some items that are key. You're probably not going to even know if they're backed, right? Because they could just be sitting in this bush. That's another thing. They could, bush you and just wait on you to try to push out. So you're always scared to push out, and then they could get a preferable back timing, and then before you know it, they've walked back to lane. They've got a fresh BF sword. You don't have anything, and then you're like, oh crap, they bought, so I have to back. And then you're losing minions at the tower, and then they go get Dragon, or they roam, invade your jungle, whatever they want to do. So that's really bad. You don't want to do that. The flip side of that, that's where you want to be, right? So you want to have them pushed into tower, and instead of, just standing here and trying to hit the tower itself, right, and risking the support engaging on you, or risking the jungler, coming around and ganking you, you can go get the vision, right? So now you can put some wards places. You can put, this is a great place for a ward, by the way, if you're on red side and you come over here through this dragon, because this is almost going to always be pink warded. If you really want to flex on them, then you can fight over that pink ward, but it's really difficult. And if you get in right here, sometimes just warding this is something they won't notice with their pink ward. So if you clear this before you back, like you come in and clear out their pink ward, they back, you clear it, then you back, you can drop a ward here, and a lot of times they won't notice that. But now you have the priority. You can go roam. You can go set up for dragons. You can clear out their vision. You can establish vision of your own in their jungle. So it just opens up all of the good things. So that's why you want to do the push and roam style, because a lot of winning comes down to not just, the old mantra is win lane, win game. It's not just win your lane. It's win every lane. That's how you win. So if you can win your lane and mid lane and jungle through vision, through roaming, by getting that priority, that's how you really get those high percentage plays, right? A lot of the best solo queue players in the world, the Aptos and things like that, they don't play just to go like 5-0 in lane and be up 50 CS, right? They play to take over every lane with usually hard roaming champions, getting priority and really leveraging that priority. Because you don't want to take anything to chance, right? You don't want your bot lane to lose, right? You want to go down there and put your thumb on the scale and make sure they win, because you're ganking them all the time. You're ganking for them. So use those priority backs, get the deep vision, get scuttles, get roams. This also puts the enemy in a lose-lose situation. and I've talked about this before in previous videos, but let's say that you're trying to go up and contest, or you're trying to go up and do dragon. So let's say mid lane's over here. If you have priority, then it's going to put the enemy in a lose-lose situation. So let's say that you walk up here, you're trying to do dragon, and they want to come up and try to stop you. They want to disrupt, but this wave is pushing into them right here. Well, if they come over here, first of all, you're there first. So that means that most likely you have vision. You have a vision advantage on them if you're sweeping stuff out properly. So that means that you can bait them, right? So you could be waiting like right here. They start walking over, you engage on them and kill them with your jungler. Or you could be like right here, you know, engage on them with your jungler. So you have the option of a gank if they try to come for you. But even if they come over here, let's say they get over here kind of clean, and let's say that, you know, through some miracle of positioning that you don't have them cut off, let's say that like their jungler is coming in as well. You know, let's just say that you have a decent sort of setup here. Then if you win the fight, right? If you win this fight right here, you're not only going to get dragon, but the wave's already going to be pushed into their tower. So when they come to contest, they're losing experience. They're losing experience and gold by not being at the tower. The tower's taking damage. And then if you win, then you get to come down and, you know, potentially take that tower or get extra plates off of it because it's already pushed into them, right? So that's a win more type of thing. Let's say that in a neutral position that you come here and your team is just like not really sure if they want to fight or not, and so everybody just ends up leaving, right? You just kind of disengage, but they don't go for the dragon either. Say everybody just kind of goes back to normal and does their thing. You still got the advantage, right? Because they lost experience, they lost gold to the tower. Let's say that they win, right? So let's say they come up here and, you know, they get a really good engage on you and they win this fight. What are they going to be able to get? So they get dragon, which is good, but they're still losing experience, they're still losing gold, and they can't push into your tower, right? So now it's going to take them a really long time to push, so it's defensive as well. Just in case you lose the fight, they don't get as much because they don't have the priority. Versus if you had it frozen or something and it was up in your tower and then they got over here and then you tried to roam over here, if they win this fight, then they can rotate back and then they could get the tower, right? And it also gives you vision. When you're pushed up like this, you know they're coming. It's like having an extra ward because your minions are watching them, right? So you get to duck out of vision. They have no clue where you went, but you know when they're going to follow you up. So you get kind of first mover's advantage. You get to establish the vision. You get to gank if you want to. If they want to come over, they're losing automatically just in a default position. If nothing happens and both teams just reset, they still lost golden experience. If you win the fight, you get a win more situation where you can go down, take extra plates, get extra damage on the tower. And if you lose the fight, you're in a lose less situation because they're not going to be able to push and contest your tower, or it's going to be a lot less likely they're going to be able to do that. So really, you just like, there's 4 different ways of winning just by pushing the minions into them. So that's why you want to push minions into them, because it just makes the percentage much higher that there's going to be a good outcome for your team. Okay, well, we'll do the rest of this really quick. We only have like 7 minutes left. And I think I've talked about most of this. So be decisive, take advantage of enemy position whenever possible. If the enemy jungler's top, ping dragon a lot, see if you can go get dragon, if at all possible. If the enemy takes a greedy back, they stayed for their BF sword, you came back with a pickaxe or something, push them in a tower, see if you can go get that dragon, get that deep vision, roam middle, just do something with that tempo. If the 2 people go bot to try to pick off your split pusher who's bot lane, you know, go try to do Baron. If they don't have a flash and you know they don't have a flash, try to force those fights. Try to establish that vision first, leverage the vision for engage. So we mentioned that before. First mover's advantage. If you have the tempo, if you haven't pushed in, you get to go over there, sweep out all their wards and ward your stuff up. And that's one of the number 1 ways to win late game, is just to bait Baron. You don't actually have to do Baron all the time. It's nice if you get it, but you can just come up here if you have tempo, right? If you have them pushed in mid lane and top lane, and then everybody disappears off the map, they have to come face check. They have 1 blue trinket, probably, so they can, you know, check the Baron and see what you're doing. But otherwise, like, you have vision on this stuff, and if you just lock them out, you know, they've got to come look at it or give you Baron. right? So if you come over here and just have everyone just like hang out like right here typically, then usually the vast majority of the time they're going to file in and just kind of run up the middle here. Usually they don't run in at the same time either. It might be the support that runs in or the jungle that's trying to run in to check, and then you just grab them and kill them. So, I mean, that's one of the best ways to win is just make your own objective. Force them to come to you, and then you get the first move, and you can probably kill them. So get that tempo, get that advantage, get that vision, make a play off of it. And then the final one that I'll mention here, oh, and if you are a jungler as well, which this is part, or if you're a support, if you're not the jungler, if you're a support, a top laner or whatever, zone off the enemy. I guess that comes down to here, like, take only high percentage plays. Don't 50-50 a Baron. If the enemy jungle is sitting there, like, ready to jump in and try to smite the Baron, don't do it, right? If you're a support, run over that wall, push them out. You know, even if you have to flash over the wall, you know, to keep them off of the Baron, do that, right? Just ping the jungler and tell your team, hey, go stop that person from getting over this wall. Do not let them take a look at it. If a bunch of people, if Baron's getting close and a bunch of people are running up here, you know, just do everything you can to keep them off of that Baron, right? If your team's doing damage, you're sitting here in your Janna, just charge up a tornado, throw it at them. Drop some wards in there. If you're a Nautilus, you know, just be that front line. Be that offensive line, right? Do not let them get through and take a look at this Baron. So, especially as a support, you need to be doing that. But other roles need to be doing that as well. So, jungler can't peel off to go zone, so you need to zone. Use the resources on strong allies to help strong people out. And this is the last thing I'll mention. I do want to keep it under an hour. So if you're mid lane strong, like I mentioned before, go give them your vision. Think about what kind of items can you get to help them. Can you put your Knight's Vow on them instead of your AD carry if you're a support? Can you get something like a Shirelia's? If you have a really fed Darius top lane and you're afraid he might get kited, can you get a Shirelia's to help him out? Put Knight's Vow on him. Use your cooldowns on the Darius. Use your Lulu ult. Use your locket, use whatever you can to help out the Darius. If you have a hyper-fed Twitch or something like that, maybe you can get Ardent Sensor to help the Twitch out. Use your peeling on the Twitch. So anything that you can to try to help them out, go roam for them. Go sit on them, right? If that Fizz is 3-0 and you're a Nautilus, go roam and keep that Fizz fed. So you want to get your strong people stronger and stronger and stronger. League is really a game about snowballing individual champions most of the time. So help your strong people get stronger. If you have a choice, hey, I could use my Nautilus ult down here, and we've got an 0-4 Vayne. Maybe we can make a play. Or I can go and use my Nautilus ult middle, and we have a 4-0 Fizz. Go use it for the Fizz, right? So use your cooldowns, use your wards, use all of the resources at your disposal to help the strong people get stronger. Avoid strong enemies, right? If they have an 8-0 Urgot, don't go fight him if you can help it. Sometimes they will force you to fight him if they group up. But if he's up here split pushing and you see a good opportunity to engage on the other people in the mid lane, go engage in the mid lane. Go force that fight, right? When their big scary person is not there. So anytime you can do that, try to do that. So play around your strength, try to avoid their strength whenever possible, and then take the high probability play. So we talked about zoning off people from the objectives. Don't let them get a free look with their smite at the dragon, at the Baron. Check your minimap for allies. Do not fight if you're outnumbered. If someone just died on your team, ping everybody back. Do not do a 4v5. Even if the score is 30-10, just don't. Yeah, you might win it sometimes, but why? Like, just wait 20 seconds, get your 5th teammate back, and then go do something. You know, really look before you engage, especially if you're playing like a Nautilus or a Leona, look at your minimap. Is your ADC actually there, or are they off doing red? Did your mid laner just randomly back, you know, in a bush? Yeah, maybe they shouldn't do that. Maybe they shouldn't be getting red. Maybe they should not have backed there. Maybe they should have been ready to engage with you, but the reality is they aren't, right? And so you have to go with reality. Don't force fights if it's a bad fight. So only take the good ones. Check the minimap for allies. Make sure they're paying attention. If you thought the jungler was coming in for a gank, make sure they didn't stop and do scuttle along the way. And the final thing I'll mention here, just on the way out, note ally playstyle. If someone is playing extremely passively in lane, or they don't know what's going on, they're missing all their skill shots, is really poor play, don't expect them to have good play, right? Just say, hey, this person's having a hard time. I'm going to try to win around somebody else, right? So it's natural to get frustrated at that a little bit, but you have to be logical and say, hey, I can choose not to play around that person and to play around someone else whenever possible. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the stream midnight every night on YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.